Get the boat picture open, please. Because those people that are doing other things, and then you try to catch up, and then you get behind, and then I got to come and help you because you were trying to do something different. So stay with me on this one. It can be a little bit tricky, so stay with me. Please get the boat picture open. Okay, I think that's the other room. All right. Okay, so in the past, when we wanted to put a new background on like the pelican picture, we used one of our selection tools. We went around it, so we had those ants marching. We cut that part of the picture out, pasted on a new one. This time, we're going to start working a little differently. Okay, so we're going to start thinking of pictures as layers. So here I have a picture. This is the one we're going to work on towards the end of the hour. But they're two different. They're two kind of different versions of this picture. I also have the one that's like the background of the tropical bay, right? So think of them as layers where they sit on top of each other. Things sit on top of each other. So if we cut out the boat, it's on kind of like a plastic sheet when we cut it out. And then we place it on top and we move it around, but we're really moving this whole layer, this whole plastic sheet around. So that's kind of how layers work. And you do this kind of thing in Google Slides all the time where you put things behind other things. You're just not realizing that they're actually on layers. And that's how Photoshop is dealing with it. So that's what we're going to do with this. Instead of cutting around the boat carefully, we're going to take the whole picture and we're going to use something called layer masking, which will allow us to hide parts of it and show parts of it. And there's so many things you can do with this layer masking. So we'll just start with the basic thing that you can do with it, which is to combine two things. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get this entire picture selected. How do I do that? How do I get the whole picture? All of it. All. I want to select it all. Where do you get the all? Yeah, what did you use? Quick selection. You could use one of our tools, like quick selection or something like that. That would probably take a long time. Yeah. Select all. Yeah, remember in the select menu, we did that probably day one. That's probably where you're like, oh, I forgot about that. Select all is going to select the whole picture. And you get your ants marching around the entire picture. Okay? All right. And then we're just going to cut it or copy it. So go to the edit menu. Remember, you got to do it from edit. I'll just do a copy. And we're going to go to that tropical bay. And we're going to edit, paste. So you should end up with something that looks like this. All right, so remember you need your toolbar, you need your navigator. For this one, you are going to need your history palette. So if you don't have any of these, go to the window menu and open them as I'm talking. And you definitely need your layers. So make sure you have all those out and ready to go, because that'll make your job a lot easier. Those 4 things. All right, so again, we've got our background layer, which is the tropical bay, and we got the boat laying on top of it right now. And the whole picture's kind of laying right on top of it. Okay? All right, and so let's take a look at the layers palette real quick, just so we can kind of see what's there, so you get used to it for a second. So I'll zoom into that. All right, first of all, you can see these are called thumbnails, so we can kind of get an idea of what's on each layer. And, right now, it's really, again, the background layer is laying in the back, and then the boat picture is laying right on top of it. It also has those little eyeballs. You can turn those on and off, and you can see the picture disappears. Sometimes you have to do that just to see what's on what layer. Sometimes you can't tell what's on what layer. So I'll turn that back on, just kind of showing you that. Another thing you can do, you can select the different layers. And whenever you do, whatever's highlighted, whatever you do will only affect that layer. So for example, there's something called opacity up here. And I can take the opacity, which basically means how transparent is it. I can take it down to 50%, and you should see your boat picture start to become see-through. Incidentally, we're going to put it back up to 100. But incidentally, you don't have to click on this little arrow. A lot of people do click on it and then slide this little slider. But instead, if you just click on the word opacity, see that little double-headed arrow? You can just slide like that. Sometimes that's quicker. So go back up to 100%. Okay. All right, so that's kind of in a nutshell. Another thing you might notice is the background layer, so the one that's laying on the very bottom of the stack, has a little lock. And sometimes that gives you a pain. Sometimes that's a problem. Like I can't move the layer around. I can't do a lot of things with the layer so while it's locked. So if you just point at the word background and double click, it opens it up and it'll rename it into layer 0. Just click OK, and that unlocks the background layer. So now, if you wanted, you could rearrange them. You can kind of click and drag them. And now my boat picture is in the back. It's underneath my bay picture, which doesn't do us much good. So go ahead and bring it back. But I just wanted to show you how you can drag things around up and down. We did that with the bird in the sky, if you remember, to put the baby bird behind the mama bird. So those are kind of some of the things we can do with our layer playout. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and do a layer mask. So again, I'm going to hide everything except the boat. So get that layer 1, the boat picture, get that selected. Just highlight that layer. And a layer mask is just a button that we're going to press down here. It is right down here. So as long as I have layer 1 selected, I can click this Add Layer Mask button. And that little square will pop up, a little white square will pop up. And that's a pretty big deal. I know it doesn't look like a big deal, but that's going to allow us to do so many cool things. So you're in edit mode, so you got your crop tool. So just hit the note sign and get out of edit mode. It's waiting for you to crop. And then get the move tool so you don't keep going and crop. Okay. So now we were just hitting that. There we go. Anybody somebody else have their hand raised? Okay, so look at your neighbor's screen, make sure that they have this configuration. They have the boat in the bay, and then they have the boat picture with a square next to it. Okay, if not, see if you can help them get what they need to get. So that square next to it, that is called a layer mask. And I know nothing happened to your picture yet, but really we just made it magical. We just made it so that we can edit it by putting that little square there. That now allows us to edit this picture and do lots of things to it. So it's a lot like that quick mask. You grab a brush, you get black and white paint, and paint on it. But before we do that, let me show you. See how there's a little white square around it? Click on the actual thumbnail picture and notice that that square jumps to the thumbnail. So you can edit the mask, which is the magical part of the picture, or you can edit the picture just normally. Okay, so sometimes you're going to need to click on the mask, and sometimes I'm going to say, okay, now click on the actual picture. Mask, picture, okay? We're going to stay on the mask because we want the magical part of it. But just know that sometimes that clicks back over to the picture, so you'll have to check that every so often. You might have to look over and make sure that little white line is going around your magical mask. All right, now we need a brush. If you remember what the brush tool looks like, it's over on your toolbar. It looks like a paintbrush. Okay, so press that, and remember, anytime you grab a tool, the first thing you should do is look up at your option bar and confirm that you have normal, 100%, 100%. So if you don't, that just means somebody on your computer was playing around. So if it says 70, crank it back up to 100. If it says 0, crank it back up to 100. And that's the opacity and the flow. Okay. All right, so that's on the brush tool, the options for the brush tool. All right, and again, it's just like that quick mask thing we did the other day. We have to have black and white paint. We're not pressing this button, by the way. That has nothing to do with layer masking. We're going to use black and white paint. So remember, if you want to switch from black to white, you can just hit this double-headed arrow, or what else can we do to switch from black to white? X, yes. X on your keyboard. Do that a few times, because you're going to be switching a lot. All right, so I have my brush. I have black and white paint. And if you're not sure if you have black and white paint, click this button and make sure you have black and white. Okay? All right, we're going to paint with black. Black this time is our eraser. Before, white was our eraser. Black's our eraser this time. All right, so all we have to do is come over here to the picture. I'm going to make my brush a little bigger, which using my brackets, right next to the P key, the letter P. And now you can see black erases. All right? And now if I wanted to bring that back, That's the nice thing about it. I bring white forward, so I go over, I bring white forward, and then I can bring it back. So what your goal is here is to erase, I'm going to bring black forward using X, the background. And I'm going to do kind of a poor job, so do a better job than me. I usually do a really sloppy job at first. Now, I'm using a very hard brush. Remember, your brush can be hard or soft? And that's why I'm getting such a perfect line, which it's fairly perfect. If you're getting a really soft line, you can come over here up to your options for your brush. You probably have your hardness all the way at 0. So sometimes I like to be like right in the middle. But that's up to you. It depends on, how good of a color. Are you good at coloring in coloring books? Because, sometimes you need that perfect line. If you have a fresh set of crayons, you can get that perfect line. All right, so I'm going all the way around the boat. And I'll come around and help you guys in a minute. Let me just do mine. And I'm doing a sloppy job because I'm hurrying. I want you guys to do a little better job than me. Taking out the old water. I'm taking out, and I also want you to go right in between the two, so you're going to have to make a really small brush and go in between, because that's what makes it look real. Again, it's a lot like Quick Mask. You're switching from black to white. If you make a mistake like this, oh, I just cut my sail in half. No big deal. Hit X on your keyboard, bring white forward, bring it back, hit X again, and you're back to the eraser. So it's very, you're able to edit. That's the big deal about it. Why you do it this way over the other one is because you're really able to edit and fix things. And if it doesn't look real in a certain area, you can kind of fix it. Like I decided to take, there was a rope that went from the side of the sailboat up to the sail. I just took it out. I don't think I could get that one selected anyway. Yeah.
I'm trying to erase them, but a little bit of
So check, I'll come and see you. Check and make sure you're actually on the mask and not on the picture. Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Yeah. Like it happens. And sometimes people are like, how did that happen? I don't know. It just pops over there sometimes. So. Yep, so you're the same deal. You're not on the mask. So yeah, back up. Go to
I feel
click on me.
so sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, so you didn't check to see that you were at 100%. See the opacity? There you go. And so you got black and the mask. Oh, and I don't think you have a brush. You don't have a brush. Make sure you're using a paintbrush. There you go. Oh, there. Cool.
Is this
It is, so keep scrubbing it. I'm not sure that you have black. Make sure, click the default button, the little baby ones. Yeah, see, it's not black, cancel. See, I said that happens sometimes. So, see the little baby black and white there? Yeah, oh, so that's why I always click that little baby one. Because sometimes it's just really, really, really dark gray. And you think you have black and white, but you don't. And see, I think you're the same deal. That is not black. So see the baby one? Yeah, click that. Bring black forward. Okay, now try painting. Yeah. I don't know how they get set to really, really dark gray. If somebody thinks that's funny, or if they were just using dark gray, I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me that it does happen. Okay, so you can kind of see how you could use this to cut things out. So the one I showed the video at the beginning of like fruit, like they had an apple and they put someone's eyes. I mean, that's exactly how you would do it. You'd bring in a picture of an apple, you'd bring in a picture of just a whole person's face, lay them on top of each other, and layer mask it so only the eyes showed. Okay? So it's a great way to make collages. It's a great way, you could also do the same thing with a person's face and bring in like a picture of a cheetah, and you can layer mask on just the cheetah part over top of the skin. So it looks like that person has like cheetah skin. And I've seen some kids do some really cool stuff with that. We're making them look like they're part animal, part human. All kinds of cool stuff that you can do with this. All right, I know a lot of you aren't done. You still have to, I'm looking for you to make it as perfect as possible. But I'm going to ask you to put this aside, and we're going to move on. There's something else you can do with layer mask. There's about 10, 20 things you can do with layer masking. But the next thing I'm going to show you is how to combine black and white and color in one picture. So we're going to go to that girl with flowers. Push this aside. You can come back to it and finish it up and save it and turn it in. It is worth 20 points, but put it aside for now, okay? We're going to girl with flowers. All right, everybody got girl with flowers? I don't want you to get off of what we're doing here. Okay. All right, so what our goal is to take this picture, make it black and white, but we want the flowers to stay color, her eyes to stay color, maybe her lips, although they're kind of bright, and we'll kind of talk about how we're going to tone that down a little bit. But basically, we want, a black and white picture. You've probably seen the greeting cards, right, with the little kids, and then the little boy is holding like a red rose, and it's black and white, and just the rose is red. So those are really, calendars and things like that. Lots of things like that. All right, so what we need to do is we need to have 2 copies of this picture, exactly 2 copies, and we're going to make one color and one black and white. So the easiest way to make a copy, we could select it all and do a copy paste, but there's a faster way. Over here on our layers palette, if you want to make a copy of a layer, we did this with the bird in the sky, click on this layer, and I'm going to hold it and drag it down to that icon on the right-hand side. So I'm dragging it down and letting go. And you get a copy. Okay? Don't just push the button. You got to drag a layer down to it. If you just push the button, you get a clear piece of plastic. And that's not what you want. You wanted a copy. All right, and we're going to name these. Sometimes it helps when you name these layers so you know what's on what layer. So the background layer, I am going to call that my color. And you can just double click on the word background, and you'll get this dialog box, right? And you're going to call that color. So that's going to be our color version of this picture. And now this one, I can just double click and name it right in here. This is going to be my black and white version. You could call it B and W if you like to abbreviate things, just as long as you know. All right, so this is my color version. This is going to be my black and white version. All right, so the color version already is color. So we don't have to do anything to that. The black and white version we need to highlight. Okay, everybody got that far? Raise your hand if you need me to come get you. Okay, so that's the one that says black and white is the one that we need to turn black and white. Anybody remember how we turn things black and white? Yeah.
Go to adjustment, image adjustments.
Yep, image adjustments, black and white. Just the normal way. As long as we have that particular layer selected, it's only going to happen to that layer. So image, adjust, black and white. And all you have to do is hit OK there. If you wanted to, you could play around with whether you wanted a high contrast or low, but let's just make it plain old black and white. Click OK. And now you should have something that looks like this. So I've got a color picture and a black and white picture, and they are laying on top of each other. So just kind of like this. Okay, here's my black and white, here's my color. They're laying on top of each other. Okay, the black and white is covering the color. So what we want to do is we want to add a layer mask to this black and white version so we make it magical. And it allows us to kind of scratch through the picture. Think of it as like scratching through. And we'll see little peekaboo peeks of the color underneath. Okay? So that's what we're doing. All right, so we do that by getting that layer mask. And the layer mask almost always goes on the top layer. Okay? So you got 2 layers. It's good. The mask goes on the top layer. I think that's always the hard thing for me to remember. So again, as long as you have black and white selected, just click Add Layer Mask. And now we're on that magical mask. We got to make sure we stay on this square. Grab a brush and some black paint. So brush and confirm that, you know, you still got 100% normal, 100%, you know, all of that should be confirmed every time. All right, and then with black paint, you just start kind of coloring, and it's going to show, we're just showing the picture underneath because it's the exact same picture, it lines up perfectly. And so I'm just going to be kind of sloppy about it. Now, what you want to be careful of, what I'm looking for when I grade, is that, you know, this is like, you know, preschool. You're coloring in the lines. I want you to, you know, make sure that you're coloring in the lines. Here you can see I went outside and now I got some of her skin tone. That's not what we want. I'm going to hit X on my keyboard and now I'm painting with white. And I'm going to go in there and take out all those little peaks of her skin tone because I think it looks better if we just have just the blue. So you'll want to kind of spend some time going around, making sure here's a little part of the leaf or part of the petal of the flower that I didn't get the blue on, but I don't want any skin tone. So I would just, again, I keep that left hand, middle finger on the X key, pointer finger on the space bar. Because remember, this is going to help you move around. Okay, and then once you get the flowers pretty good, you can come to, oops, bring X, bring black forward. Black is the one that's kind of erasing out the black and white picture and showing the other picture. So, you know, don't be sloppy about it, though. If you need to make your brush smaller, do it. I get a lot of turned in that look like this, where their brush was too big, and they went like that, and then now that they've got part of the skin tone in there. So I'll hit X and we'll clean it up. But you don't want the eye to be red or anything. You want everything to be completely black and white except for the blue parts. So it's pretty simple. And you are welcome to do this on your photo. So if you take a picture for Light Mood and you're like, boy, this would look cool if it was partial black and white in color, or, you know, boy, I'd like to put two images together, you can go ahead and layer mask. These are all things that you can use on your own photos. All right, the lips are a little bit of a problem. So don't do the lips yet. Let me show you what happens if we just go ahead and do them normally. So with the lips, if I wanted to make the lips color, bring black forward. I don't know what you think. So I'll do them kind of. But I think that color is way too bright, especially compared to the black and white. It looks a little clownish, you know? It's just too bright. So we don't want to, sometimes you don't want to paint, or you don't want to scratch through 100%. So I'm going to erase that, because that really looks horrible. It looks like she, you know, has some really bad lipstick. Okay, so instead, for the lips, I am not going to use my brush at 100% strength. I'm going to turn the strength of my brush down to like 50% or 40%. So it's just giving me a little bit of the peak of the color, but not the whole thing. We do that up on the option bar, and that's why I said that's why, you know, you got to check it, because all the kids this morning were changing theirs. So I'm bringing my opacity. I'm up on the option bar right above. Okay, not the one on the layer palette, but up above. And I'm bringing it down, I don't know, around 40%, 40, 45, something like that. And then I'm going to paint on her lips with that lower strength. You still want to use black paint, but that's a little bit more muted. So sometimes you want more of a muted effect, or you don't want it to show through 100%. You just want it to show a little bit through. Oops. The problem that comes in is when you try to erase, you're only erasing at 40%. So you tend to do a lot of changing. So now I got to go back up 100%. And I want to erase at 100%. But then now if I want to paint again, I got to bring that back up down to 40. So there's a lot of changing. Okay. But so that is how I do, and you got to make sure you get it right back to the right setting. First time I did it at 40, the second time I did it at 39, so the tones are a little bit different. Another thing that's kind of fun to do, and you don't have to do this one, purely optional, but kind of if you've ever seen an old-fashioned photo of a little baby, sometimes they did this black and white thing and then they painted on the photo and they did just like a little bit of a rosy cheek. To do that, I would bring my opacity way down, like 10%. And I would make your brush really soft. So you would come into the options and you take 0% hardness. And you got a soft, big brush at a low opacity. And I just do one click. Bring black forward. 2 clicks, 3 clicks. I just did a couple clicks. I didn't do very many. 2 or 3. And now I'm giving her a little bit of that rosy apple kind of like putting makeup on. So you guys are all probably like, well, I've never done that. But just doing a little bit of a rosy cheek. You don't have to do the rosy cheek. The only thing I'd like you to do is the flowers, the eyes, and then the lips. But, they have to be kind of semi-transparent. Right? And then if you want to give the rosy cheek a try, you can. And if you don't like it, you can always switch to white, 100% opacity, and erase it off. But I think that looks kind of nice. All right, so that is worth 20 points, and the sailboat's worth 20 points. And now that you know, this is kind of one of the last things I'm teaching you, and it'll help you with all the other extra credit tutorials. So there's a ton of other extra credit tutorials. They are extra credit. But next week, some of you will get done early. If you do, go check out ePark. And there are tons. There are a bunch of other stuff that you can do with these layer masks. So there's one that's called Background Blur, Night on a Horse. So it's a guy riding a horse in like a festival. And how do you blur the background out? Layer mask. There's one that's called Uneven Exposure Goat. So it's a goat, and he's really dark, but the sky's kind of light. How do you get the goat lighter and the sky darker in the same picture? Layer mask. Okay, and then there's a bunch of them down here, and they are all different ways of using layer masking. So there's some cool stuff, but that's all extra credit. So if you finish and you want to work more with layer masks and see what they do, you are welcome to do any of those extra credits up at the top or here. And they're just step by step. You read the tutorial, it'll tell you grab this tool, that tool. If you get stuck on a step, ask me. Okay, so that's the next week. Monday I probably won't be here, so if you are done with everything else, you can start working on these. Okay? When you're done with these 2 tutorials, make sure you save them as a JPEG. I told everyone this morning I had quite a few PSDs. So once you're done, don't forget, File, Save As. Got to do a Save As, not just a save, because you got to make some changes. And it automatically is going to want to come up as a PSD because you have more than one layer. So you can't change it in there. You got to go down here and choose it from the list and let it choose it for you. Never, never, never type the .jpg. And then, of course, you always put your last name in the file name. Okay? Save it into your tutorials folder and upload it. So, save 2 copies if you're not done. That way you can get back to the other one. You have 2 layers. So, save it as a PSD once, then File Save As, save it as a JPEG. And that way you can always edit the other one. If turns out you did it wrong, just go back in and edit it. Okay. So you can work on that. I would suggest working on one of those items that is due if you are missing anything. If you're not missing anything, then feel free to keep working on this. But if you are missing anything off of this list, today is your last day to turn it in. So all of that stuff, if you've got hallway, I had a couple people didn't turn in hallway. And I know they worked on it. I know that they saw their pictures. So composition, make sure, and I'm going to read them off. What do I do with those? That you turned in the rubric. I don't have very many of them, so I know a lot of you are getting 10 points off. So I will take 10 points if I don't have this self-reflexes question at the bottom is worth 10 points. There's extras of these in the back. Here's the ones I have. Olivia D, Kaylee S, Beth J, Luke F, Anna A, Jack A, Alora D, Callie M. That's all I have, which means everybody else will be getting 10 points off. Okay, unless I'm missing some. I'm kind of surprised there's so many on this class. Is there people that think they turned in the rubric?
I turned mine in yesterday.
Alright, let's see if they got mixed in with the third hour. Or the fourth hour, I mean. Oh, you know, I just went and got some out of the basket today, yeah. Here, let's see. Guys, come on, put your... I don't know why you guys do not put your hour on in here. These are all first hour. Yeah, that's first. Okay, let's see. That's fourth hour. Hold on. Oh, they're still back there, that's right. That's right, because I knew some more people would want to turn them in. Okay.
Yeah, do you want us to turn it in?
Yeah, I'll come and get them. It's the only bit I didn't collect because I knew you guys were still working on this stuff. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's the ones from yesterday.
Merry Christmas to you.
Ashane, I have yours.
Thanksgiving.
McKenna, I have yours. Ethan, I have yours. Olivia H, I have yours. Zoe, I have yours. Ethan, I have yours. Madeline K, you're good. Blake. Megan R, Madison A, Jaden F, Josh. Okay. So if I called your name, I have yours, but make sure your photos are there. Okay, gotta have both pieces. Gotta have the written piece, gotta have the photos. Yeah, in the studio. Yes.
Yeah, that's, that's.
Let's see, maybe I didn't enter the 6 hour ones. I didn't do wedding kiss yet. And face retouch, but I did the lighting one.
I did that.
Then, right? Yeah, I have it. I wonder if I'm off one. The person whose name comes along alphabetically didn't do it. All right, I'll re-enter that. So you're saying yours wasn't either, Drew?
Yeah.
Studio.
I have yours too. Maybe I didn't enter 6 hour. Oh yeah. All right. So yes, and let me see if I have one here, so you don't have to look. You can use this. I think it'll work. It's on its last legs, but I think you can make it work. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I don't care where you do it. You can do it at your desk if you want. Just be careful. Okay.
It was mainly because of eating.
So this isn't related to this. This is related to. Oh, okay. Okay. So pick one clear photo. When you go to the you used like these composition styles in the photo, and it made it better. Like the flashlight, you know, whether it was better in focal point or around. And what we made for like like, oh, this is a subject matter, I was trying to show the beauty, you know, I did a macro to show how beautiful the close up is, so, you know, what to show that you wouldn't have been able to show, and then use that aside.
I tried to.
Grab your crop, I would crop in a little bit so we get some of that distracting stuff, I know we clean up. So what you just do, is hit the no signs, and it's equal up to the box. So you gotta go up to that box and choose 8 by 10, you're not in 8 by 10 yet. So hit the no sign, nope, not in there, hit the no sign, nope, not in there. Okay, all the way to the left, keep going, keep going, left, there you go, right? No, not right. There. Okay, got it. Yep, and now you gotta split it. So it's not this right, left, left. Okay, so now you know everything in that box is gonna be
I'm so good at trash.
I guess I did have to shoot me in for 6 hours somehow, so. And then basically, again, that's only when well, I did, no, I did the first day. And say whether it was soup. Uh-huh. Hold on one second. I just have to have a drink of water.
Do you want me to give this to you or to turn it over? Okay.
I can't.
Yeah, well, because it's not, it's because you can't have something like that, you can't have something like, because it looks around itself, it's trying to like blend this, see how there's a little bit here, so it's trying to blend this in, this in there. So you have to go from a little bit over here. That's what I do, so.
It's like 8 by 10.
8 by 10 and then flip.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse. Me taking 5 minutes to click on that. You don't know how to do this.
But usually, if I don't even look.
What is the flip? I saw my big salty.
It's so small.
Were you able to get those?
Yeah.
Yeah, just log in, I think. Yeah, just log in on the same login.
Yeah.
I don't know the other thing.
It's like 2 years.
Yeah, so, see this cover right here?
Like over at just
Probably no more than 10, I'm trying to get out of here on time. But yeah, I Can't imagine any other done. Did you turn in a visit? You're not sure.
I wanted to. See, it doesn't look. The dog still looks sad.
Someone could go to school.
I told her.
You need to go
Files, yeah.
You could have seen.
It's going in the dust. I put it. Do you know what the office is? Okay, that makes sense to you. Okay, as long as you know where it's at, you should be able to. Yep.
I think we only have a yellow pencil now, but that's fine.
Okay, so you need that, probably your contact sheet, should you have?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, there's access back there, there's top shelf.
Oh, I can't find this. Oh my God, this is terrible. I've never done that in my life.
So get started and I'll help you here.
Terrible weird.
I wasn't but I just did it.
Okay. Can you get a piece of paper and write that down? Yeah. Paper to do that.
Oh wait, there's another one. Cause Sky, if you're done with the composition thing, I mean, I'm up, so I might as well turn it all in, before I sit down and do 2 minutes back up. Oh wait, I just heard for explaining what I'm doing this week, I'm sick.
Two in November 4th, but I said.
What? When is this?
You're taking 4 items and mixing them. Go there. You go find that. And you go find 3 things. And you cut it out each thing, so you take one, show the hotel room.
Your dog terrifying the Sky. Did you not have the pupils in here? Don't. Yeah, you should. Did you have it on? You deserve it for the sheep state. That's the life. You leave in 2 minutes, not 2 seconds. Oh.
What time are you checking these out? Like right after school? The collages?
No, this weekend.
Alright, so,
Home?
yeah.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Well, I have messages next, so I'll just download the free trial and do it. Because I can't stay after it.
Okay, yeah, probably not maybe tomorrow night, not Sunday.
Alright, I'll do it tonight.
Wow. My name never text me. You are racist. Really? You are the worst. I tell you, you are racist.
Bye guys, have a good weekend.
I don't want to know. You didn't have to tell me that. Like, you actually honestly didn't. This is my